found an image that had like a wider scope of view, and I think that this is it.
Our names are Mike and Heather. We spent the summer converting our Ford Transit Connect into a camper van with the ultimate goal of traveling to all 50 states. We have already been on one epic road trip, and now that our van has been finished, we're ready to set out on another. Subscribe and join us as we explore the US and try to figure out this whole van life thing. As always, thanks for watching. So good morning from Sleepy Hollow. It is actually October 1st, so today begins spooky season nationwide, but especially here in Sleepy Hollow. We are currently in the cemetery, but the reason why we walked to the middle area of the cemetery and not stopping at all the really cool graves just yet is because we wanted to find this bridge. So a lot of times when people come to Sleepy Hollow, they're actually very underwhelmed at the bridge from this original story, because that bridge is actually a Main Street bridge now and it's got a lot of traffic, doesn't look romanticized at all from how it was originally. But there is one in the cemetery just up the road from that original bridge that looks like the one that Washington Irving would have told in his story and the legend of Sleepy Hollow. So let's go take a look at what Sleepy Hollow and the cemetery has to offer.
We're heading out onto the bridge. I think what's really cool about this is that this just has much more of that classic Hudson Valley, New England legend feel about it. You can imagine Ichabod riding home at night and being chased by the Headless Horseman and having all of that unfold just right here on the bridge. While the bridge is definitely a cool thing to see while you're here, the stream itself is really pretty and it runs right along the road through the cemetery. The water's super clear, so if you park near the entrance and walk in, you get some great views along the way. There's some small little waterfalls and cascades, so it's really just a pleasant walk, especially in fall.
So now we are headed into the cemetery to begin exploring that. If you do want pictures on that bridge, I suggest getting there early because, as you can see, there's definitely more people down there than when we got there, so good timing. We just left the bridge and are walking down this very nice shaded path to the front of the cemetery. We're gonna hop on the main path and check out some of the graves and tombstones within there, as well as the Old Dutch Church. There are official tours of the cemetery here in Sleepy Hollow, but we're actually gonna go grab a map and do our own little self-guided tour.
We do recommend the tours though. I think the guides were good. They don't allow like filming or photography of like the tours, but they give you some information and take you to a lot of the cool graves, because there are some really fantastic famous people buried here at the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. And
some cool stories and legends that you get to hear along the way. We actually did the tour in 2019 when we were here, so definitely recommend that. So we walked up to the Old Dutch Church, which is now behind me, because they had somebody out there back in 2019 selling maps, so we thought that that's where we could find it. But it turns out that we have to go to the cemetery office building. There's also a very blurry one on Google that we'll try to use, but like Mike said, there's a lot of influential people buried here, so we definitely want to do the cemetery justice and be able to check it out properly. Success!
Oh yeah, this is the one that we saw online. An enhanced map.
You probably have to pay extra for that.
Yeah, purchase at cemetery office during business hours and at local merchants. So we could always go to the local merchants to find. Okay. We'll go to that one, the Sleepy Hollow gifts thing that we saw, and then come back.
On our mission to find a map, we're passing the bridge right now.
Should we go across this way?
And we're gonna go across it for good measure. They even have like the Headless Horseman logo on their buses. So this is the high school that we're passing right now, and their mascot is the Headless Horseman, which is pretty cool.
I think they're officially known as the Horsemen. They probably couldn't say Headless, but yeah, they're the Horsemen, which is pretty neat for a high school mascot.
I think we're coming into Sleepy Hollow proper now. We're about to enter Sleepy Hollow to try to find a gift shop that has the enhanced maps as well as a place to eat.
Driving through Sleepy Hollow, if you look at the street signs, they're all this really cool black and orange with the Headless Horseman riding across the top. I think it's really cool theming.
So we just came out of a very cute gift shop. Unfortunately, they said that they were all out of maps, which is pretty hard to believe that it's the first day of all the festivities and they've already been gone. Great for Sleepy Hollow's tourism. I'm glad to see that they're making money, but not so great for us. They suggested stopping by the Chamber of Commerce, and although we were unsuccessful in getting a map, we did get a sticker. Regardless, even if we can't find a map, we'll still be able to explore it with our very basic one.
I think we'll go right here because this should be the Chamber of Commerce. And then we'll try and find food in this area.
We're just leaving our parking spot after we were able to eat at a very nice pizza place.
Mr. Nick's Brick Oven Pizza?
Yeah, so if you are in the Sleepy Hollow area ever, I would definitely recommend stopping in there. It's actually rather affordable, and the person who was working it was really great as well. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in finding a map. We talked to a couple locals going into the many shops trying to find a map, and even the person working at the pizza booth. And they both kind of seem to have the same type of perception of Sleepy Hollow, and that tourists kind of flock here at Halloween time, and there's not really that much to do outside of the cemetery and Irving's estate, and especially now because of the current situation. Everything, even more than that, has been closed down. So a lot of the tours are closed, a lot of the performances and things centered around the Headless Horseman are closed here in 2021. With that being said, it still really is a great place to come around Halloween time. We know that because we did come back in 2019 and got to attend some of those tours, like the Sleepy Hollow experience, where you're actually watching a live play as it moves around, and it ends with a Headless Horseman, like a real person on a horse,
racing, galloping down.
Racing, galloping down this path, like towards the audience. So that was a very cool experience as well.
And of course, one of the things we're not doing but is really fantastic is the jack-o'-lantern blaze. It's just a giant event with all sorts of carved lit pumpkins, and it's pretty amazing.
But as far as the haunted Horseman or Halloween vibes that you're going for, as soon as you leave those areas, it kind of just comes back to that charming little fall town, which is an aesthetic in itself. But we're just happy to be here on our fall trip and exploring the legend of Sleepy Hollow once more. We're back at the cemetery now with the original map in hand, and we're about to do some exploring.
From the tour last time and from the map, Washington Irving, the author of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, is buried somewhere in here. And I think there was a grave that was maybe the person who inspired Katrina von Tassel, who was the love interest for Ichabod in the story. There's some Carnegies and Rockefellers. So this is how we're looking.
I remember there being like a plaque and a bunch of pumpkins, and I definitely think it's this way. I do think that Katrina's grave is by the Old Dutch Church, so I guess we could start there and looking and then head towards Washington Irving's.
Like in here.
Yeah, because they said that a lot of people pass right by it and don't even realize it because they stick to the map.
What we're probably going to be doing to find a lot of the graves is Googling images of them. We found what Katrina von Tassel's grave marker headstone looks like, so now it's just kind of figuring out where in this part of the cemetery that is.
The only problem is, Mike just showed me a picture of what it looks like. Okay, so I'm like, oh, there it is. So let me show you something. This one is not it. All of these are not it. This one, not it. Neither are any of these. The problem is that it must have been a very popular headstone during that time.
I found an image that had like a wider scope of view, and I think that this is it. Katrina, I think that's it.
All right, we did it.
So we found out about this grave in particular from the guided tour, so that's how we knew it was here. But if you were just looking, it doesn't really have writing on it that would necessarily say Van Tassel. So it's hard to know for sure. So definitely a reason to go on the tour so that you can kind of find things like this.
We are just now leaving the cemetery and heading towards the original bridge.
The historic marker for this bridge indicates that this was the site where the bridge from the story originally spanned. The one that we saw earlier today was almost a recreation further into the park and offering that more, I guess, atmosphere or vibe. This one, as you can hear, is like on a main roadway.
on the other side of this new and I would argue not improved bridge, because the original one would have been way cooler.
This bridge was erected by William Rockefeller, who's actually buried in the cemetery here. There's a lot of Rockefellers and Carnegies. Like Heather was saying, I don't know if it's an improvement. I mean, it provides like a roadway and better access across the stream, but I guess the nostalgic story lover in me would say that older is better.
But just on the other side of this bridge, like I was saying, is the statue, so we're gonna head there now. And there you can see the Headless Horseman with a pumpkin for a head, and that's Ichabod running away from him.
On his horse Gunpowder. But look at how it's layered. There's like multiple layers to create the image, so it gives it more depth. We are ending the day in a sort of symmetrical way from the way we started it. So we started down at the kind of recreated Sleepy Hollow bridge in the cemetery, and we ended it on the site of the original bridge from Washington Irving's story. So with that, I think we're going to close the book on our Sleepy Hollow adventure. Next up for us is continuing north through the Hudson River Valley. So we have a couple more stops, a couple more days here in New York before we head up to Vermont. We've still got a lot of adventures left on our fall road trip, and we're excited to continue to see the leaves change and see what we can get into on our way up the country.